Yes, indeed. Greetings and blessings and welcome to the Justice and Healing, Judgment and Heaping, Nyabinghi Initiative. Yes, indeed. I am your host, Dr. Wayne Rose, coming live to you from the studios, the Calabash Studios in St. Lucia. Here where we present a forum, a discussion, a chat, a talk, an interaction on what it means to be just, fair, and good to ourselves, good to our humanity. Yes, and we don't join the cry for peace without justice. It is our mission here in this forum to talk about justice, healing, and the ways in which I can restore ourselves within the human frame to goodness. So join us over the next hour as we talk, we chat, we link up and we look at this important issue. But first, I want to recognize the fact that in the United States of America and across various parts of the North American region, people just celebrated what is called Juneteenth. June 19th every year, or that Sunday, that third Sunday of every year, people come together and they look at, that final act in Texas. Yes, where in 1865, on June 19th, the declaration was made, or the proclamation was shared in Texas for the ending of slavery in the slave states, the slave-holding states. And people in the Americas, African Americans and others, have pushed to have this date recognized, and in some states now it is actually a holiday. In fact, today in certain states in America, they celebrated the holiday. So we're going to have a little talk about what is emancipation in the context of celebrating something that is of value. And we want to look particularly in our lives, our own lives in the Caribbean, and see how this notion of emancipation either makes sense, don't make sense, or what it is I can do to really make it connect with us. So the first question, just in terms of a word, emancipation, what does that mean? What we're really talking about? And what the dictionary suggests is that it's a process of being set free from legal, social, or political restrictions. In other words, it's a liberation, yes? Being set free from legal, social, or political restrictions. And all of us are aware there was a time when I people of African ascendancy were restricted. We couldn't go certain places and do certain things, and under law, by law, many of us had to be restricted to certain areas, and the customs were very, very different, very poor, very obstructive to and the freedom that, or the freeness that I expected, the free will to do what I wanted to do. And emancipation not only took place in America, more than 30 years after it took place in the Caribbean, it actually took place in America. So, these are adjoining places. The Caribbean and America share a rich and common heritage. The Caribbean, in fact, helped to create some of the wealth bases in the southern regions of North America. So they have a relationship. But in the Caribbean, and mind you, the Caribbean had its Emancipation Declaration on August 3rd of 1834. So it started earlier. But what it meant, what was it? What was the value of that to common people? You get up and you say a man is now legally free to do what? Socially free to do what? Politically free to do what? Liberated to do what? And if you ask yourself that question on a serious note, then you need to answer it, And when you answer it about the people of the past, then you have to reflect on your current reality and ask yourself if you're truly, truly liberated. So let us look at that question first and foremost. Legally, what are we free to do? You can own property, good thing. You can travel, good thing. You can acquaint yourself with people from all different social and political and racial background, perhaps good things. Yes? You no longer are restricted from moving in and out of certain places, I mean in the general sense. But we have seen the case of the brother named Aubrey, who in Texas was just running through a community and he was gunned down. That don't happen in the Caribbean per se, because the Caribbean is not structured within a racial system as the Americas are, or North America in particular, especially the United States. But the Caribbean has some social restrictions. That after we move from the legal restriction, we look at the social restriction. Are we emancipated socially? And when we say socially, we're not talking about just getting together and socializing. We're talking about the mindset, how we are socialized to think and act. And we have to check that one very seriously. Because socially, our people are buying into customs and doing things that are not necessarily consistent with free-thinking people, with people who understand themselves and understand them culture and them heritage. So we have been sold a bill of sale about who we are and what we ought to do, and we buy into it. And so most of us are just consuming information that creates our social behavior, or at least help to influence that social behavior. And in that influence, we have gravitated to a system and customs within those systems that shows that we are still socially within the bondage of another system. And the social bondage creates a mental chain that locks us into spaces, locks us into actions and behaviors, locks us into thinking of ourselves less than we ought to think about ourselves. We think we can't do certain things, or we can't lift ourselves up as God beings, as intelligent beings, as being equated to the spirit and the power of those people who have created and done great things. We have to check that very carefully, because we are the ones now are consuming, we're buying things and we're getting out there and we're making other people wealthy, but we're not creating new ideas, not creating new things that can create economic opportunities and create infinite possibilities for our reality. We have been locked then in a new social prison, a new social jail that makes our young people become very frustrated. And this is a lesson and a message to those people who are policymakers, who are thinking about or should be thinking about the future of young people and the future of young nations, including St. Lucia. And we have to think very carefully about what kind of society we have developed for young people to socialize in, and whether or not that is creating enough opportunity for them. If we're not doing that, if those leaders responsible for doing that not doing that, then you're missing the boat and you're not stepping up to the band of your responsibility to lead, to share, and to bring people into the next and the new. Then there is a political restriction that we ought to be enfranchised with, where you say you have the right to vote and to make choices about who leads you. And people have been doing it, I know people have been doing it, and some people take it serious. But we're also seeing that that has become another trick in the system. A system where now people sometimes are incentivized through money and through certain opportunities and through some garrison leadership and all different kind of things. Those people are given the opportunity and given some incentive to go vote. So your political capacity is restricted by sometimes your own gluttony, but through a system that others have developed to keep you holding certain families and holding certain people at a certain level of prestige, so you automatically vote for them. And equally, there are political actors, people who call themselves political action committees or committee members, who they lobby governments and they lobby systems. And they're the ones now, they not only lobby, but they spend a lot of money advertising and promoting their ideas. And some people not thinking for themselves take those ideas and talk about them as if they're real and as if they're important to the lives of ordinary people. Ordinary people who just want to get a good job and want to lift themselves up and their families up. We have to think about this very seriously in the context of emancipation and what we just saw celebrated in America yesterday and today as Juneteenth. Because our people, primarily people of African ascendancy, are now the primary consumers of American goods and services. And we lock ourselves in these idiot boxes, restricting ourselves further in a social matrix that we don't really overstand fully. And it is our responsibility and those of the leaders among us who really care about these things to build the types of programs, to have the type of conversations that will help in the liberation of the minds of the people. Yeah, man, we have to do that and we have to take it very seriously. So as we do that, the question becomes how to acknowledge the historic date and dates of emancipation of formerly enslaved African people and their offsprings. How we acknowledge that without selling ourselves out and selling our real legacy and our real prestige. Because in the first place, when you go celebrate something, it ought to be something that is earned and deserved. Yes? And it ought to be something that you recognize as good for you. And while a man would say, well, emancipation is a good thing, you're free now, you can do this and that. In the first place, we should never have been incarcerated. And we're talking about enslavement, because enslavement is really is a form of incarceration. A real form of incarceration. Kidnapping. Placed in jails, bondages. I mean, it could be a farm. But in Jamaica, they have a place called farmers. It's a farm prison. Yes? A farm prison where you take people and you lock them up and them go work on the farm in the daytime. That is exactly what many African people experienced for thousands and thousands of days and months and years. Yes? Our people were on farms, prison farms, working. So the thing is, when we talk about celebrating some of them things here, we have to understand, say, in the first instance, it's not to celebrate anything. It is to think about it, reflect on it. How did we get ourselves in that situation in the first place? Who were responsible? Who are now accountable for the situation that bridging them in various communities that are struggling in St. Lucia, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Antigua, in Jamaica, in North America, Baltimore and DC and LA? The responsibility. Who is responsible? Whose responsibility is it that our people find themselves in this kind of situation? And when you're thinking about that, you don't think about it and go get drunk, which is what we have been, the bill of sale that we've been sold about celebration is that you go party and you go get drunk. No. When we talk about emancipation, we're talking about reflecting on some injustices done to I and I. And in the doing of those injustices, we recognize that, nah, man, this thing I can't write. This not right. And then we look at where we are socially, legally, economically, which speaks to our political reality. And we have to check ourselves with the question, are we free people? Are we liberated people? Really liberated, with choices that, big man can make, big woman can make. in terms of their future, their destiny. And we're not pawns in a political game or in political games and economic games that enriches other people and don't do a darn thing for us. We have to check that. So we must be very, very reflective then. And when we reflect and we come to a truthful answer about our personal, family, community, nation, state, reality, when we come to that truth, that reality, then we have to find out if this whole emancipation conversation could become the catalyst for social change. Yes, if it is the catalyst for social change in our lives, then we must engage that change. And how we do it is we have to organize ourselves. We have to have a plan. We have to determine what our mission is. And in the determination of that mission, we decide on how to act, what we must do in ensuring that true emancipation, legal, social, economic, political emancipation, will take place through our own will, our own action. And we don't just get up and sit down on the sofa and wherever in the bar and in the club and just partying and gallivanting as if we are just children, not overstanding that you have serious work to do. You're just playing all the time. A brother said, can I go on now living this way? Acting like a child, always at play. I now must recognize that emancipation is our responsibility. And in that responsibility, I need, therefore, to emancipate ourselves. Yes, indeed.
From the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the loving hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation, yes, triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever redemption songs, redemption songs, these songs of freedom, yes, all I ever had, redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery, now that ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of that can stop at a time. How long shall it kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Oh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Oh, won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs, redemption songs, yes, all I ever have, redemption songs, redemption songs.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. These songs of being free, these ideas of our people being free, are not the songs, the only songs we have. We have church songs, and we have mosque songs, and we have temple songs, and we have dancehall, and we have all different kind of songs. But the songs that frees our mind and liberate us are songs that we must meditate on, songs that we must engage, and conversations we must have. So we're going to take a small break and continue this conversation that allows us to really examine ourselves in time and space and make the determination about our liberation, our real emancipation. Blessed love. Join us again in about 30 seconds or so. Give thanks.
Our anthem says, "Love the land that gave us birth, the land that produces world-class cocoa beans that make the most sought-after chocolates produced by local entrepreneurs. Most are women. They also produce the most delicious plantain chips, sweet potato chips, banana chips, and so much more. So when you are shopping for a snack or chocolate for that special occasion, be it Easter, a birthday, or just because you love, love, love chocolates, ask for locally made chocolates and chips.
My name is Cornelius Gideon, lecturer at Southwest Community College, Engineering Department. Alright, so what we have on display is pretty much a wiring board that displays every single sensor, every single electrical component of any given motor vehicle. And what we do, we actually teach the students how to go about solving problems, how to go about repairing those electrical components that persons find hard to repair. What we have at the college, we have what we call short courses that run for a period of 6 weeks, and we ask persons in the industry to come in. Come and get recertified. Come and learn new technology. Come and interact with us so we can actually show you the best way forward. And if persons actually jump on that opportunity, it's something that we can see in the long run benefiting the country. Before, vehicles of long ago and vehicles now are two different classes of vehicles. You understand? Even though the concept remains the same, but electronics now has infiltrated the automotive industry. And as a result, persons now have to get recertified in that. So we're asking all the mechanics out there to come in, do an add-on course with us, where you can do motor vehicle electronics, you can do motor vehicle air condition repair, you can do engine repair, you can do transmission repair by itself. So we actually tailor those courses to suit the public. At the Southwest Community College, the number is 457-7300. Contact Lifelong Learning if you want to do any add-on courses. As a professional, my number is 716-2960. If you have any queries, anything I can assist you with, not a problem.
Yes, St. Lucia. Welcome forward again to this conversation on emancipation, Juneteenth. And yeah, really, what purpose does this serve? You know, we have this mindset that we get into where you think holiday and then you think party, you think holiday and you think going out. But, you know, our people have had some challenges in the past. And those challenges have impacted us in significant ways, and we are not coming out of the loop of the impact simply because we have not thought through some of these things that is now called holidays. All we do is just get up and spend money and have a good time. I'm not saying you're not supposed to have a good time. I'm simply saying that when you think through some of these processes, some of these holidays that are given to you, then you recognize that some of them is not to be celebrated. They're to be contemplated. You're supposed to be sitting down and really studying yourself and your history. And when you study yourself and your history, you get some clarity as to what you really need to do. You might even realize that in that study, you have a real contribution to make in order to change the cycle that our people have been in. When you think about 2022, we still have our people being shot down in streets, in the North American streets that people, many of us from the Caribbean, running to, risking our lives for. Yeah? They don't have to capture you on boats anymore. You're literally running there yourself so that someone can kill you. And if it's not someone killing you in the streets and it's the weather killing you or the bad food, the poisonous food killing you, is that the action of emancipated people, free people, liberated people? Or are we now in a new reality, a matrix that makes us feel so dependent on a system that is an unfair system in many ways. Mind you, the polar reality of that system is that you can make some money. So if you're about money, then you can run into it. The reality also is that it can mash you up. When you go there as an adult and you're going to have to walk in ice, yes? And you're going to have to face all different kind of challenges environmentally because you don't know what the people have put in their air and in their food and in their water. You know, we're running from places where we have natural springs and we have fruits we can pick from trees. And we made a decision to go into these places simply for $1. And then we have to spend that same dollar on the doctor just to get a little relief from pain and the frustrations of pain and aches and all different kind of diseases that they're making up names for now. Names like COVID and all them things. Now, mind you, these things, other people sick and died from them. So we're not challenging those things, you know. We're not saying they're not real. We're saying that we must make informed decisions about the realities I want to live. And in the making of those decisions, we have to think about our own justice, our own healing. And therefore, this conversation must also be framed as the real purpose for emancipation must be for the justice and healing of our people. Justice and healing for our people. The only way we talk about liberation and emancipation, the net effect of that has to be justice and healing. And that is what brought Ras Wayne into St. Lucia. Not to do an event, Father knows no, but it is engaged with I people, sit down and reason and talk and see and plan and then execute the plan, make the plan a reality. Make sure then that we have a real set of activities that can bring us closer or directly to the frame of our justice and healing. And mind you, I am not presumptuous enough to believe that I come with something new. There are others who have been doing tremendous work here in St. Lucia, in Jamaica, in North America, in Europe, and certainly in Africa. We have good people who love humanity, love their own unit within humanity, and love the general humanity, and they've been doing work. So I salute them people. But in that, in our own space, and in this time, I am in St. Lucia, perhaps to remind the family that you have so much opportunity to lead, to stand tall, to be an example, even in the region of the Eastern Caribbean and the extended Caribbean. And in that framing, I have called for a justice and healing initiative. And that initiative will take place from July 21st through August 17th. That initiative incorporates the birthday of our Divine Majesty, the man we love, the man whose name we take as part of our own title, Ras Tafari. We'll celebrate 130 years in his life, or 13 decades. 13 being a very important number in the reality, the African reality. That's why they make us fearful of number 13, Friday the 13th and all them things. 13 decades in his life, but also 13 decades, 13 and a half decades in the life of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, whose Earth Strong we will celebrate on August the 17th. And on August the 1st, we're going to have a real emancipation discussion march, and we're going to show what Rastafari represent in the space of emancipation, because we've always been the reminder, the conscience to and for the people to say it's not just about gallivanting, it's about standing tall and recognizing that our people, the first thing our people did was to survive. We survived the atrocities and the injustices. The next thing our people did was to build. When they gave you scrap, we build a scrap house. And then we change the scrap house to a mud house. And from a mud house to a wood house. Yes? And we're standing in palatial spaces now. Because we are builders, we are creators. So if you give us air, we're going to make air pie. We're going to make something out of it, in other words. We're creative people. So the Rastaman has been reminding us that when you take coconut shell, yes, you can make badges and buttons and beautify them and sell them. You can make wealth. You can create wealth out of herbs and bush, things that people ignore and go urinate on. You can literally use it to benefit yourself, your health, your well-being, but also to make financial resources for your family. The Rastaman been reminding us of these things. And so in the justice and healing space, we're going to have them conversations. But first thing we're going to do, we're going to stand up and put black as a representation, symbolic representation over white and march. Reminding ourselves with the African drums, the Nyabinghi drums, that the Rastaman has been calling for death or a cessation of atrocities, injustices against our people, against African people, against poor people, against brown people, against people who have been sidelined and maligned by the system. We're going to remind humanity that we are one family and that we stand supreme over the system of oppression that came to us through a European framing, through whiteness. And we're not attacking white people. Yes, we know a lot of good white people. People who stood with I and I. John Brown is one of them. Did more than what most, even black man, did. Because John Brown got his 4 sons involved in the revolution. Lost all of them. But he engaged them to fight for justice and the restorative process of humanity for the liberation of African people. So as a white man did that, I have no problem with my white brothers when they come with justice and love. But for those who want to keep the status quo of injustice and to represent that as if it is the norm, then we call a serious piece of fire upon you. Yes? So yeah, man, we're going to continue the reasoning, and we're going to look at some of these things. And as you know, I and I really come from a perspective where we develop, this is the creativity of the liberated mind, where we could decide on who we want to worship, how we want to worship who, and when we want to do that, and where we want to do that. Is Rastafari create the only indigenous spiritual movement of this dispensation by establishing a Rastafari ritual and worship protocol. So we're going to expose St. Lucia not to what you think is Rastafari through reggae music and them kind of things, but we're going to expose it to what really Rastafari represent. We are the conscience of the people. We speak to the reality of our people and indeed the world. And we call people back from the brink of annihilation, from the brink of destruction. And we say, come man, you can't do that. You've gone too far. Come and join us. So the Rastaman says, come. The Bingi man says, come. And we say, let him that hear it or her that hear it, come. And if you're thirsty for a new ethos, a new way of looking at your life, we say, come. And whosoever will, come and partake with I and I in a new paradigm, a new reality, where we're going to say no more injustice. We're not going to be unjust to our families, our children, ourselves. First ourselves. Our woman folk and our man folk, depending on the type of relationship you're in. You know, one man, one woman. That is the framing of Ethiopia and Africa. So it's that we buy into. But we're not going to get into the other semantics and what people want to do. We want people to know that you're going to be just to yourself, just to your family, just to your community, so that we can make a just and verdant and peaceful world. But peace don't come without justice. And that's why all these governments been running up and down, talking about peace. But the only thing is that they're scattering the earth into pieces through their wars and their creation of the war machineries that President Eisenhower in 1961 says is the greatest threat to even America itself, as much as it loves to warmonger. This Republican president of America said the military-industrial complex is the most significant threat to America. Yes? So these are realities. And so we want to say, come for justice, come for healing, and we're welcoming the family wherever you are, across the human experience. July 21st, I will be in Mount Kailash, holding a Nyabinghi. And if you don't know what Nyabinghi is, again, it is an end or death, a cessation of all forms of injustice. That is what Ras Wayne and the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center and the Justice and Healing Initiative is calling for. And we're going to be in that space, and we're going to ride it up with our Nyabinghi brothers, ride it up with our Bobo Shanti brothers, ride it up with our non-aligned Rastafari brothers, ride it up with our Pan-African brothers and sisters. And when I say brothers, I'm come from that framing where we use a man to represent the head of the household. And I don't apologize for that. But we welcome our sisters because we know you are the strength in the family. You stand as the backbone for so many situations and circumstances with children. So we stand with the woman. Yes? But we're going to ride up the Nyabinghi with all the family. All who come willingly. Because as emancipated people, you must act from your own will, your own conscience. And you must do good, as the Rastaman says. Doing good then becomes a framing for emancipation. And so, just so that ones would remember what the goals are within the Nyabinghi initiative here in St. Lucia, we have come together and organize and centralize an administrative system in a secretariat right at 37 Jeremy Street across from the Janu Credit Union. And we are facilitating a justice and healing space where people can come. They can learn about their African history because we have a bookstore and a library there. A special collections unit, you can come and get books to read about your history. A man without the knowledge of himself is lost. So we're providing that base of knowledge at the center. And we're also serving as a model of competence, transparency and accountability. So we're coming to St. Lucia and we're saying, listen, we're not begging anything. We're not trying to hustle anyone. We have a space where ones from the family, the human family, and Africans in particular, people of the African ascendancy, so you come out of the lineage of African people, you can come and learn something about yourself. That is what we've established at the Jaja and I Center, Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center. We also then have been trying to locate the right people to join us in our spiritual and cultural endeavors. And we have invited people. We are trying to mobilize people. And we have also been employing great people, great minds to talk and work with us. People with skills and expertise and experience from right here in St. Lucia, but also across different locations in the Caribbean and in North America. Good people from across the humanity, calling them to justice and to healing. And we're calling them at a healing center, I tell you all this already. I came into St. Lucia to heal my own physical structure. And I've been doing good so far. Give thanks for asking or for caring, But because I found that healing, I wanted to extend it. And I found a way to frame it around our culture and our spirituality. And I found the right partners in my honorable brother and sister, Honorable Priest Kailash and Empress Ethiopia, right here in St. Lucia. And we have been working studiously, yes, in ensuring that people see something different, creating the next and the new so our people can have buy-in. But we're going to go out in the communities also, work with the community leadership. Whether a man says a gang this or a gang, we don't care about them kind of things. We know good people is within all of our communities. So we want to work with the young brothers who may be frustrated, who may have some challenges. And we want to give them an option so that they can see that money don't have to be made one way. Where when you make the money, somebody looking for you for that money. No. You can make your money and live it and sport it and do the right things. Do good for yourself and your family. And you don't have to get into the violent acts that supports a military-industrial complex and allows you to kill yourself and kill others and create ghost town. Look at how beautiful the southern portions of St. Lucia is. And, you know, people say, boy, the place looks like ghost town sometimes because of what is happening. We want to call our young brothers and sisters in those communities to say, no, man, you can, you know, the thing can nice. You can live a nice life and feel nice and listen to your music and burn your herbs if it's that you're into and drink your herbs if it's that you're into and eat good food and have a good life and have your spiritual security because you know who you are spiritually and culturally. That is what we want to offer to the family. Options. Different options than the frustration that you see. And that is why we into St. Lucia. This is what the Nyabinghi initiative is about. And we also want to say to the leadership, some things have been done unjustly to members of our community, the Rastafari community, but we only represent the larger communities of poor people. People who are kings and queens but wake up in a consciousness where they find themselves don't have resources and being discriminated against and being run out of places and ignored and ostracized. Yeah? Rastafari represent them. So we have a list of demands that we're going to make to the government. But before I share them demands with you, I could take a small break now, producer. One love, give thanks.
My name is Alicia Ipolit and I attend the Center for Adolescent Renewal and Educational Center, CARE. And today we are displaying our aquaponic presentation, the mini version. Basically, aquaponic means farming using fishes where we have tilapia in a tank or in a pond and we feed them at least twice or 3 times a day. And when they defecate, we use that for a filter system and we use the bacteria from the filter to basically fertilize the plants, and that same water passes to the cycle again to water the plants, so you don't have to get up or water your plants every day. It does everything in one. So today we have celery and string onions, but you can also grow cabbage, cucumber and lettuce, and it takes at least 6 weeks to grow, and the fish takes 9 months to fully develop. And when it's fully developed, it weighs at least 4 pounds or 1.5 pounds. It depends. Yes, we sell to the village of Ancillary. We also sell to the schools in Ancillary. And our main goal is to encourage farmers to farm without using any chemicals. They can get in touch with our school at the K Ancillary or dial the number 720-1536.
In the event of a disaster, you have thought about emergency exits for your company staff and visitors. But do you check them regularly? Is your company really prepared for a disaster? Download your checklist at caribbeanchambers.net.
Yes, greetings again and welcome to the Justice and Healing, Judgment and Heaping show. This is yours truly, Dr. Wayne Rose, the Rasta man who is a doctor, among many other doctors. I'm just one of many, but I am on this mission with you here in St. Lucia, and we're bringing information, we're sharing with the family, seeking to do good with and for the family. As I just mentioned before the break, we come with a list of demands, not unreasonable demands by any means, where we're looking at how we restore the family. How the first thing we want to do is to just sweep the mess from under the rug that has been packed up there and accumulating over all these times. People ignore the fact that police and people within the system, I remember in Jamaica, we have an incident called Coral Gardens, where the Prime Minister gave the order to go murder Rastafari people. Murder them. And many people were busted up and brutalized. And we have stories right here in St. Lucia, where you have people operating with the cover of the system and sometimes the support of the government, past governments. And they did unjustly to their own people. And so we look at the current government, which is a fairly young government, not even a full year in office yet. And they came on a platform to do good for the people. And we trust that they will hold true to their words, to bring some restorative justice to the people. And therefore, I offer ourselves as social scientists, as teachers and historians and community activists, offer ourselves as agents for change to assist. And if you don't want that assistance, it's fine too. But we're saying we're here to support the pledge made on behalf of the people, for the people, and to the people. So we're here to support that. But our demands are very elementary demands. We Rastafari have an educational framing that speaks to who we are as African people and how we have led civilizations in the past, and we want to restore that. So we want to look at the world from our own lens, through our own glasses, and see a reality and share that reality so that our young people can be hopeful and can start thinking creatively and new ideas. They don't have to be locked on the idiot boxes that I watch sometimes, admittedly so. But they don't have to be confused about their possibilities. They can see and travel and engage other things. So education is one. Then we have, African people have had a health system for millennia, for thousands of years, where we rely on herbs and food, natural foods as our medicine. We want to return to that in our health structure. We want to balance it with what people call modern medicine. So on the modern side, you have the science and technology, which is very good. Very good, especially when you want to find out what is wrong. They have the machines and the equipment, you get that. But when you know what is wrong, you don't have to go under the knife necessarily. And you don't have to get fearful. You go get the herbs and the things that is the seeds and seed-bearing foods so that you can restore yourself. So we want to bring those as demands. Then land. It's the base of all civilization and all free man and woman. So we want to look at land like land that some atrocities took place on. And we say, so for instance, Mount Jimmy. What is happening with Mount Jimmy? Now we know injustices took place against Rastafari people in Mount Jimmy, at Mount Jimmy. So we might want to have that discussion and say reasonably then, if you see any model in St. Lucia of Rastafari's success in a mountain space, can you imagine if Rastafari then, or that same Rastafari unit, had Mount Jimmy, the marvelous things that could be done? It's a thought. I'm not selling it either here nor there, but I'm saying land is one of the other important things for the restorative process of the Rasta man, who has been right all along. Just check that, Rasta man tell you about herbs all along. Him say stop eat so much salt all along. Yes, him say be kind to the environment. All of these things now are the new things happening in our reality, where other people have taken the baton and is running with it. The unfortunate thing is that sometimes they don't even look forward now and give the Rastaman credit. And so the man who brought forward light is in some economic darkness. Shouldn't be right. It's not justice, and it cannot promote healing. So let us address those things. And we have other things that we're going to bring forward, as we have a full 7 points that we want to share with Our leadership, good people, or at least so far we trust that they're good until they prove themselves to be not good. And we want to have that conversation about how we help you in leading in the new directions, leading St. Lucia into the next and the new, making St. Lucia the model of the Caribbean, not just the Helen of the Caribbean, but the model in terms of leadership to exemplify what we can do, I and I can do to restore the Caribbean family as leaders to be respected, Rastafari. So, yeah man, in the 28 days program that we spoke about, we're going to have African spiritual activities. So we're going to have a Nyabinghi. We're going to start with African drums. We're going to make those drums speak to and for us. And go make those drums speak to the heavens and to the earth. And open up the possibilities, the atom that can create a new big blast, a big bang that creates a new thought in the minds of our people. That is what I and I is very intentional about. And let I and I will be done. Then we're also going to have some educational symposiums because, listen, St. Lucia, you're going to have people coming in from all over the Caribbean and all over North America. We're going to even have students, a group of students from Johns Hopkins University, yes, along with some of their own faculty professors coming in to experience this particular event. Because St. Lucia is important. And I have sold a bill. Help I and I then deliver on that bill by standing up with us in the Justice and Healing Forum. And we're going to re-engage the thinking on black economics. So we're going to look at the model that the great Honorable Marcus Garvey, who also came into St. Lucia many, many decades ago. Marcus Garvey established a maritime philosophy, a black maritime philosophy, that black people could trade among themselves on the high seas. And most of us have gone away from that. So if anything happened on the seas where your food is concerned, you can't even get access to your food. You're in shortage because you cannot trade. You don't have the equipment. You don't have the vessels. So you're dependent. That is not emancipated people. Emancipated people will have a framing of how they build themselves and serve their communities and their families. That is what we're about. So we're going to re-engage the maritime, shipping, Black Star Line concept, construct, and we're going to bring it forward. Because if I have $1,000 and you have $1,000 and 1,000 man have $1,000, is millions of dollars we're going to get together. That is the first million, and we can expand on that and get the type of, we start with where we are and we build from there. That is what we're also about. And then we're going to show you, because many of you don't know St. Lucia, but we're going to show you some of the atrocities that have been committed against your own people by our own governments in the past. And we're going to say no more. So we have a documentary that we have created. It will tell the story of Rastafarian African people who stand today. They're still alive. And they stand as victors over the systems of oppression. And they themselves now can assist us in the restorative and rejuvenation processes that will take us into a new framing of justice and healing. So we're going to be doing all of that from July 21st through August 17th. And we're encouraging those who are not in St. Lucia to join us. But more importantly, those who are here in St. Lucia, come and join us, man. Come and join us and full take in the resource that we have created for you. Yes, those resources include, a bookstore, and we're having even a poetry slam this Thursday. Again, 37 Jeremy Street across from the Janu Credit Union. We're having the first leg. Or rather, I'm sorry, it is the second leg of our June competition, where we're having the finals of our poetry slam for June. And young people in St. Lucia have been stepping up to the plate and showing us that they are capable of thinking new ideas and sharing those ideas and making it important and making those ideas count for something. St. Lucians are thinking people, young people, they're thinking about solutions. And so you come and join us 6 o'clock Sunday evening at 37 Jeremy Street, where we are having the final leg of our June competition. And it's going to be something to watch. And by the way, in August, we're going to have a poetry competition specific to emancipation. So I want you to start taking out a paper and pen and writing your ideas, writing your poetry, write your spoken word. Yes? So you can come and tell us what it means or what it should mean and frame the next and the new in that reality. So we're looking forward to you sharing with us in that moment and full joying that energy with I and I. You know, I want to share something before I leave. And you know, I all fly fast and I sometimes don't even realize how much time just blowing by. But nonetheless, even as I'm here in St. Lucia, as a man of the region, I'm a Caribbean man, I'm a CARICOM man. And I've accepted what have been offered to me. Many people look at me and say, Virgin, you're Lucian, just be a Lucian. So I Lucian too. But in the family, not just a Lucian family, also the Rastafari family and other families, you have difficult people and people who they want to be leading in a space that sometimes they're not prepared to lead and to act in ways that they shouldn't be acting. But the Honorable Marcus Garvey gave us some words that I want to share with us just before we seal this. Yes? And he was appealing to the conscience of the black race for those people like I and I of African ascendancy to see ourselves. He said it is said to be hard and difficult task, a hard and difficult task to organize and keep together large numbers of black people for the common good. That is Marcus saying something over 100 years ago, you know. He says, many have tried to congregate us, to bring us together, but have failed. He says the reason for that failure is that the characteristics of some of those people are as such. It is more to keep us apart than to come together. By their own character, they want to tear down instead of build up. They want to separate instead of join for the good. He says the evil of internal division is wrecking our existence as a people. And if we do not seriously and quickly move in the direction of a readjustment, it simply means that our doom becomes imminently conclusive. African people, St. Lucia, my Caribbean family, my family in North America, and my family all over the world, be mindful of this imminent doom if we don't just stop the nonsense, drop the negative characteristic, and step forward as leaders to be respected, as Rastafari people, and share the love, spread the love. I want to leave you with this segment again, coming from the mouth of Honorable Marcus Garvey, and created in song form by the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley, and sung today by my own daughter, Makeda Rose. Give thanks.
Yes, they robbed I and sold I to the merchant ships. Ooh, minutes after they took I
Yeah, man.
from the bottomless
Them old pirates.
But my hand was made strong by the love and hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation. Yes, triumphantly. Won't you help to sing?
Yeah, man, if y'all could hear her, I don't think you can hear her, but it's a beautiful song. Songs of freedom is all I ever had. Redemption songs. Yeah, man, redemption songs.
Redemption songs. These songs of freedom.
Songs of
Yes,
freedom.
all I
Is all I ever had. Emancipation songs, you know? The redemption of our people.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Now that ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. Cause none of that can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help me sing?
Rastafari.
These songs
These
of
songs
freedom,
of freedom.
'cause all I have, redemption songs.
Check her out, Makina Rose.
Redemption
YouTube, you know?
songs.
But it's a love
All
family.
I ever had.
Redemption songs is all we ever have.
Redemption songs.
But let us make it more than songs.
Redemption
Let us make redemption and
songs.
emancipation a reality. One perfect love family. Give thanks for the love. Blessed love. See you again next strong as we join on the Justice and Healing Forum. All praise to our majesties. Rastafari. Give thanks.